In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the insults that you hear in a narcissistic relationship. And I also have a free download for you. It's comebacks for you. So it's also something that you can use to help you craft emails, craft text messages. If you're trying to communicate with a narcissist, it's all kinds of phrases for you to disarm the narcissist, and you just go to disarmthenarc.com. Phrases for you to disarm the narcissist. So go to disarmthenarc.com and grab those phrases. And in this video, I'm going to give you all the insults that you hear, the most common ones, and then go to disarmthenarc.com so that you can make sure to know how to respond to them in a powerful way. Okay. The first one is you're never good enough. You're never good enough. Now, a lot of times what they're doing is they're trying to gaslight you, and gaslighting is a way to make you think that you're crazy. Remember, they did not attach themselves to you because you had so little value. They attached themselves to you because you had so much. This is the crazy making that they do right from the beginning when they started love bombing you, and they made you think that you were the most special, most incredible human being that they ever met. Then all of a sudden they started devaluing you, right? How did they do that? They started saying things like, you're never good enough. Or they made you just feel that way, like you're never good enough. And this is, by the way, even in a business relationship. I was in a business relationship, a business partnership with a narcissist. This person did the same thing to me. They attached to themselves to me, they hitched their wagon to me, made me feel like, we were going to be such great partners together. And then all of a sudden, these little jibs, these little jabs, and they do it very, very carefully, very, very stealthily, especially if they're covert narcissists. The coverts are the best at this, by the way. They find some under the radar way of doing it. At the beginning, you can be the best spouse, the best employee, the best friend, whatever, and then they find some way to tear you down. And it's crazy because they can find some way of like wanting to spend 7 hours on the phone with you one week, and then the next week act like you're the most needy person on the planet. What do I want to spend time with you on the phone for? Or have you doing all of their paperwork at the office and then act like you don't know anything about what you're talking about. You're horrible at doing books or whatever. Then, but why are they having you do all the books? You know what I'm saying? But that's the kind of thing that they do. This is in order to keep you feeling insecure, in order to keep them having some sense of control over you, and to boost their own ego because they are so deeply insecure. So think about that the next time that they're trying to make you feel like you are not good enough. They don't even sometimes come right out and say you're not good enough. They just make you feel that way. But no one can make you feel that way without your permission. So don't allow it. That's number one. Number two is you're always to blame. So they're constantly trying to blame you for their shortcomings. Something happens at work, it's your fault. They're angry at the world, it's your fault. They've got this deep hatred inside. They're trying to blame it on you. They've got this deep anger inside. It's all your fault. Everything is your fault. They're having problems with their ex, it's your fault. They're having problems with their kids, it's your fault. Anything that goes wrong in the world or in their world, it's always your fault. Or it's someone else's fault. Something happens where they didn't do something that they were supposed to do. It is always some other person's problem. I had a paralegal who used to work for me, and it was always somebody else's something, something, something that was going on. Somebody didn't get the work to them in time. Somebody made a mistake on the paperwork, before it got to them. There was always some other issue. There was too much air conditioning, not enough, the heat, the cold. Somebody didn't come in when they were supposed to. They just couldn't take responsibility for their own actions. Somebody was sick, their kids were sick. I mean, it was constant, literally constant. This is what they do. They project, they deflect, they lie, they deny, they cannot take responsibility for their own actions. And when you're dealing with somebody who cannot take responsibility for their own actions, it's always going to be either your fault or somebody else's fault. And you're just a person who happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you're in the middle of that conflict and you don't want to be there. Okay. You're always going to be to blame. All right. So that's the second insult that you're always going to hear if you happen to be in a narcissistic relationship. Number three, you're not worthy of love or respect. Now, let me tell you something. The way people treat other people is a direct reflection of the way they feel about themselves. Good or bad. If people feel good about themselves, they treat other people well. Think about that. People who feel good about themselves inside don't go around treating people like trash. Other people like trash. You don't see the Dalai Lama treating people like trash, right? No, you don't. People who feel good about themselves treat people well. People who don't feel good about themselves treat people poorly. It's a fact. The reason why narcissists treat people poorly is because they don't feel good about themselves inside. So, therefore, you cannot take that personally. They're going to tell you on a regular basis that you're not good enough, that that you don't deserve love or respect. And they may not come right out and say it in those words, or maybe they do, but maybe they don't. But they do this to make you feel inferior because they feel inferior, because they hate themselves, regardless of what they say. It's not true. All human beings are worthy of love and respect. All human beings are worthy of love and respect. Period. Next, they will say out and out things like, you're stupid, you're crazy, you're insane, you're idiotic, you're delusional. You get the idea. They're going to say things that are absolutely an actual insult. Let me tell you something. The use of derogatory words, actual insults, is never okay. And that's when you're going to step in. And by the way, again, go to disarmthenarc.com, grab my key phrases for disarming narcissists, get that sheet, because you're going to step in and you're going to say, I am going to ask that you speak to me respectfully. If you can't speak to me respectfully, then we'll resume this conversation when you can. Because there are certain things that are negotiable, like issues and a contract, terms of a contract. Those things are negotiable. There are certain things that are not negotiable. You know what's not negotiable? Your self-respect. And you have a right to be spoken to in a way that's respectful. And that's never up for conversation ever. And I would say you have to do the same, and they're going to bait you and try to pull you in and reel you in and try to get you to be baited into being pulled into that quicksand of hell, doing the same thing that they're doing. I would say don't do it. Don't start calling them names too, or screaming or yelling or whatever. As long as you remain calm and respectful, ask them to do the same. If they don't, just calmly state that you can resume the conversation with them when they are calm and respectful. And that's it. If they are not willing to respect that boundary, you can say, we can have this conversation when you are willing. We can resume this conversation when you're willing to speak to me in a manner that's respectful. They're not allowed to try to make you question your intelligence, your sanity, how you feel about yourself. They're not allowed to try to hurt you, make you undermine, try to undermine your confidence. and just don't believe them because it's not true. And in that same vein, if they say things like you're worthless, you're useless, you're pathetic, those are the same types of adjectives, we'll say, that are not allowed to be used. And again, you can just simply say those are not true, and we will not have a conversation as long as you are going to use those types of words. Next, they will say things like, no one else will love you like I do, or no one else does love you like I do, or no one else could ever love you because you're not lovable, or I'm the only one who loves you, or you're lucky that I love you the way that I do. They try to convince you in some way that maybe you're not lovable because, like your family doesn't even love you. And look at you. They try to make you feel insecure and undermine your confidence in yourself by making you feel like if you go anywhere else, you're never going to get anyone else to love you. So you might as well take the scraps that you're being given by this person who's basically abusive to you. Because if you go anywhere else, you ain't going to get any love anywhere else. That is, again, so not true. So don't fall for it. And the next one is gaslighting thing, which is you're too sensitive, things like that. What they try to do is take your feelings and erase them. So they invalidate how you're feeling. So why would you feel that way? Oh, I was just making a joke. Oh, I can't believe you're taking it like that, or that's not what you're seeing. You shouldn't believe that. You're overreacting, things like that. We'll just take all of those and put them into one, which is you're too sensitive. Anytime you express an emotion such as anger or sadness or fear or any kind of an emotion where you're feeling like that narcissist is making you feel not good, and you try to express that to the narcissist, they're going to go after you. They're going to feel massively defensive and they're going to go after you because they take it as an attack. So they're going to do whatever they can to invalidate that and go after you. And it's a way of gaslighting you. It's a way of trying to make you question your feelings and your experiences and your emotions and try to punish you for even ever trying to bring it up. Try to make sure that you never try to bring it up ever again. Try to make it so bad for you for ever trying to bring up any kind of emotion with them that you never want to ever do it again, because they don't want you to question them and they certainly don't want to ever have to satisfy your needs. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's don't question them and it's don't ask for anything from them. And that's why they do it. You're too sensitive, things like that. That's why they do that. That's why you're being insulted. It has nothing to do with you. It always has to do with them. The next one is you are not good enough. Anything that has to do with you're not good enough, which, is kind of like where we started on this thing. No one else would want to be with. Everyone else thinks, we're going to just kind of wrap up with the everyone else thinks. The everyone else thinks, the everyone else thinks, and the no one else thinks kind of all go together, which we kind of already covered the no one else thinks. Let's just go with the everyone else thinks. Everyone else thinks goes along with the no one else thinks. And the everyone else thinks is again made to make you feel like they've got this massive army out there, this invisible army of flying monkeys that are against you and lining up with them to make you feel like you are alone and isolated. The thing that they're afraid of the most is being exposed. That's really where your leverage lies, by the way. And so when I teach people how to negotiate, that's the first place that we go, is how to create strategy around how to find what is going to potentially where they don't want to be exposed, because that's the thing that is nearest and dearest to their heart. Because when they say everyone else thinks, they want you to believe that they've got this pretend army out there of people against you and for them. And maybe they have, one or two people out there with them, but it's not nearly what you think it is. But they want you to believe that. The first thing I'm going to say to you is stop believing their lies. Just say no more. No more believing their lies. And I want you to put that in the comments right now. No more. No more believing their lies, because their insults against you, it's just a bunch of crap. It's all lies. It has nothing to do with who you are. It has everything to do with who they are. What are the types of insults that you hear in a narcissistic relationship? All right, so I'm going to give you a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to save the best one till the end. I'm going to give you 9 of them. So number one is, who else would love you the way that I would? Or who else would want you? And it's like so backhanded. They tell you they love you, and they start off with love bombing, and they start off with how wonderful you are and how amazing you are, and you're so gorgeous and handsome or sexy or fantastic. Even in a business relationship, because I was in a business relationship with a narcissist, they start off like where you're just the most charming, sexy, amazing, wonderful, blah, 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 blah. And then they start insulting you. They start devaluing you. They start saying like, no one else thinks that you're amazing. Nobody else would love you the way I would. Who else would want you? So they start like isolating you in that way. So that's number one. It's like sort of backhanded thing. It's like, I love you, but no one else would. All right. So that's number one. Number 2 is, don't say anything to embarrass me. So you're like walking into a party, you're walking into a function, and you're like all happy, you're fine, life is good. And then all of a sudden they say this thing like, don't say anything to embarrass me. Why would I say anything to embarrass you? Maybe they think you're stupid. Maybe they think that you don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, they say, don't say anything to embarrass me. So like now you're like worried about what it is that's going to come out of your mouth, because you're afraid that you're going to say something to embarrass them. Maybe you're going to a work function with them or something like that, and you're worried that you're going to say something that might embarrass them. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, they'll say, you have no idea what you're talking about. Or they might just out and out, just flat out say that you're stupid, or that you're an idiot. They either will say that you have no idea what you're talking about, or that you're just flat out stupid. And so that's the next one. And then the next one is that you're just worthless. They'll say this in a number of different ways, like that you're just terrible with money, or that you're a terrible driver, or that you're just worthless when it comes to doing something, or that you're horrible at cleaning. They'll tell you that you're worthless, but they may not come right out and say it in that specific way. But in so many ways, you get the sense that they think that you're worthless. So that's number 4. Similarly, I have a video on the narcissist favorite catchphrases, which you could definitely check out. And, that's another one of my videos. And I do want you to put a mantra in the comments below, which is, I will not listen to their lies, because this is all a bunch of lies. And I want you to understand that this is just a bunch of their projection and deflection. They are projecting their own sense of no self-worth onto you. They are very empty inside, and people treat other people the way they feel about themselves. Hurt people hurt people. They have no sense of self. They have no sense of self-worth. And so they are projecting this bunch of crap onto you. And so I do want you to understand that the reason why they are emotionally abusive, which is what this is because they are hurting inside. So don't take this on. All right. So we're only halfway through, but I do want to stop and just say this, because don't take this on. This has nothing to do with you. This only has to do with them. All right. So number 5 is that other person is more attractive, thinner, smarter, younger looking, whatever. I mean, so they'll compare you to somebody else and make you feel like less because that other person looks better than you in some way. All right. They'll just make a comment about how you look less good than somebody else. So that's number 5. Number 6 is something about your family. They'll say, your family is stupid, your family is trash, your family is messed up in some way, your family is bipolar, your family has issues, your family is dysfunctional, uneducated, horrible, whatever, a bunch of degenerates, losers. They'll say things about your family because a lot of times they were trying to actually isolate you from your family. So they'll say things about your family. Maybe they'll call your family a bunch of narcissists. Your family hates you. Your family is awful, that sort of thing. So that's the next one. Number 7 is, I never loved you. I never loved you. I never cared about you. I was just using you. That's a really hurtful one now, isn't it? I mean, the truth of the matter is they don't have the ability to even love themselves. So again, you can't take this stuff personally. It's so hurtful. I mean, they can be so hurtful. And they may even say something like, I was never attracted to you. I never wanted you. They can be so awful, but they may say something like that too. Number 8, they may say something like, if you had shown me enough attention sexually, if you had shown me enough care, love, whatever, then I wouldn't have cheated on you. In other words, I cheated on you because you made me, because you didn't give me enough sex, because you didn't give me enough physical attention, something like that. And they blame you for the fact that they went out and cheated. Definitely seen this a lot as a divorce attorney. Just don't allow them to put that on you. And the other one that's actually very similar to this is that you caused me to be an addict. Your behavior caused me to become a drug addict, an alcoholic, or something like that. Don't allow them to put that on you. And the last one is your career is a joke. You don't make enough money. You are inadequate. You're a horrible provider, all that sort of thing. And this is especially horrible for men, by the way. It's a much worse insult for men. I've definitely seen that. It definitely can erode at the marriage. And, when you're not respected in the relationship, it's horrible. And I always say there's the 3 A's that erode at the marriage: abuse, addiction, and adultery. And when you have even one of these, then you can't stay married to a person usually, because it just erodes away at the foundation of a relationship. And abuse, even if it's emotional abuse, is abuse. And when you were married to a narcissist, it's constant abuse. Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life. Then they turned out to be your worst nightmare. And then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell. Well, I developed something called the SLAY method of negotiating with narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I will show you how. I'm going to give you those killer comebacks for narcissist insults. Yes, they love to insult you. If you're with a narcissist, whether it's covert, whether it's overt, whether it's who knows what kind, they love to insult you. That's their MO. And by the way, the one thing I want you to know is that if you're with a narcissist, they didn't attach themselves to you because you had so little value. No, 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 no. They attach themselves to you because you have so much value. That's the whole little smoke and mirrors thing. That's the thing that you need to know, because they're not attaching themselves to the blue light special over there, the clearance rack thing. No, they want the shiny object. They want the thing that makes them look good. They want the thing that everybody else wants, but they want to devalue the thing that has lots of value, because then that gives them a better sense of power. The bigger you are, the more they can tamp you down. Then that makes them feel good. That makes them feel like big man on campus. Big whoop. That's what they're doing. That's what's going on there. That's the whole thing. It's just like the Wizard of Oz, that big old head, but it's really just that feeble old little thing and back behind the curtain. That's what's really happening. I'm going to give you some killer comebacks right now to narcissist insults, but I want you to remember, it's so important for you to know, the truth of the matter is that they are way more afraid of you than you are of them. And I just don't want you to know that, but it's true. When they say you are a piece of crap, or I was better off before I met you, or whatever it is that they're saying that is trying to make you feel bad about yourself, here's what I want you to do. In general, I want you to just start thinking of you're observing their behavior, almost as if you're just watching it. You're just looking at it. It's not coming onto you. You're like Teflon, maybe like a glass bubble around you. And it's not actually hitting you. It's literally maybe hitting this bubble and then coming down or something, or Teflon that's rolling off of you, or like water off a duck's back or something. But I want you to actually start as if you're just looking at the words and they just are going past you. Because the more you can start to depersonalize it and realize they're just words coming out of a person's mouth that don't have anything to do with you, the more you can start to not feel what's happening here. Because you have to understand that what they're saying has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. The way people treat other people is a direct reflection of the way they feel about themselves, good or bad. It doesn't have anything to do with you. So if somebody feels great about themselves, then they treat other people well. If somebody feels terrible about themselves, then they treat other people terribly. It's always about themselves. It's never about the other person, right? People who feel great about themselves don't go around treating other people poorly. It just doesn't make sense. The first thing I want you to remember to say is, I can't control how you feel about me. I can't control how you feel about me. You're welcome to feel however you'd like to feel, but I can't control that. Just like you can't control how the other 7 billion people on the planet feel. They're welcome to feel however they'd like to feel as well. It has nothing to do with you. It's not your business. So, they can feel however they want to feel. You can't control that. You can look at it, you can observe it, but it has nothing to do with you. So you can say that. I can't control how you feel about me. Pushes it back on them. That's number one. Number two is I hear what you're saying, or I hear you. It's just literally an acknowledgement that they spoke. But when somebody says, I hear you, yet they feel acknowledged. All people want to feel seen, heard, and acknowledged. All people do. Everybody wants to know that they matter. My second book was Negotiate Like You Matter. And matter is my acronym for how to negotiate like you matter, because the reason why I called that book that was because all people want to feel like they matter. What I talked about in that book was that if you don't have each person walking away with some value, then the negotiation won't work. And the reason why I said that was because everybody wants to feel like they matter in some way on this planet. But narcissists, and way, way, way more than that, because they don't have any internal sense of value. So if you say, I hear you to them, or I hear what you're saying, then you are just giving them some kind of salve. You're giving them some kind of recognition. It just brings that temperature down. And that's what you want to do. When they're insulting you, they're baiting you. And you have to recognize that. That's what they're doing. They're going fishing and they're trying to reel you in. And if you take that bait, you're just basically getting a big hook in your mouth. And you don't want to do that, because that becomes potential trial exhibits or witnesses, things like that. You do not want to do that. So you say, I hear you. The next one is, you can say, everything's going to be okay. Basically, if they're so upset or they're very angry, something like that, you just want to bring their temperature down, especially if they are extremely upset. If they're extremely upset or they're in a rage or something like that, you're not going to be able to have any kind of conversation with them anyway. You know how they are. They lack self-awareness. So you're not going to be able to get into any kind of substantive conversation with them anyway. And so if they're insulting you, it's almost like if something's pushing, if all you do is push back, you're just going to keep doing this. So if what you do is you pull the one side away, then they just go like that, right? So you just say, everything's okay, you're good, you're okay. Then they'd be like, what? It literally just throws them off kilter when you do something like that. The next one is, I agree with you. But be very careful with how you end the rest of that sentence. So you don't want to say, I agree with you that I'm a deadbeat dad, or I'm a horrible mother, or I'm terrible at work, or something like that. You want to have it be like, I agree that that's how you feel. I agree that we have different opinions. I agree that that is your opinion of me, or something like that. It kind of goes back to the same premise of, I hear you, but it's a different way of saying it. It's an even more of an acknowledgement, so that they hear words they want to hear, but you're not really agreeing to anything. It's kind of like the same thing as saying, I agree to disagree, but in a little bit of a different way. I agree that we're probably never going to agree. I agree that we both have the right to our own opinion. You can say something like that. That's a perfectly acceptable thing to say too. The next thing that you can say is, I understand. I understand that that's what you think. Another one you can say is, that's an interesting perspective. That's one of my favorite phrases of all time, when you're completely baffled at what somebody has to say, or completely don't agree with what they're having to say. Just say, that's an interesting perspective. You absolutely don't agree with what they have to say at all. That's an interesting perspective. That one almost makes me want to laugh out loud, because it's so politically correct, but so politically incorrect at the same time. The next one, and the last one here, is, let's aim to be respectful in our conversations. And if they can't be respectful in the conversations, then, You can just say, then we're not going to have conversations here. You can always get up and leave. So you can just say it's time to go. I want you to have the secrets that narcissists use to insult you because I'm sick of them insulting you. I'm sick of them having the underhanded tactics and you not having the tactics because I've watched them. I've watched them get away with it. I've watched them smear people. I've watched them put people down for long enough. And so I've decided I want to put the power in your hands for a change. I want you to be the warrior. I want you to have the tools and the resources that you need to break free. So, one of the things that they do is gaslighting, and gaslighting can come in so many forms. I mean, people talk about gaslighting, gaslighting, gaslighting. But when I wrote my book, Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, and I started researching all the different kinds of gaslighting, I realized that I could have written an entire book just on gaslighting because I didn't realize how many types of gaslighting there were. I mean, it's so insidious, it's so toxic. It literally is one of the worst, most emotionally and mentally abusive forms of insults that a narcissist can use. And all types of narcissists do use it. So, what they do is they try to make you think that you're crazy. They try to just basically say that what you're seeing and what you're hearing and what you actually is happening right in front of your face isn't happening. They literally just lie right to you, or they try to get you to think that your own senses are not something to be believed. So they might say there's the suspicious text messages. It appear to be like there's a inappropriate relationship going on between your spouse and somebody at work. Okay. They look flirtatious. And you say, I want to talk to you about these inappropriate text messages. And they say, oh, you're reading too much into it. You're overly sensitive. That's a form of gaslighting. Another form of gaslighting might be, though, I'm going away with the guys this weekend, and you say, oh, it's our anniversary weekend. And they say, oh, well, we talked about that. And you agreed. Don't you remember? And you never had that conversation. So, another form of gaslighting might be that you have a business partner and you and your business partner agreed to have certain type of an agreement to take on certain types of clients, but not other types of clients. And then they bring on a client that you very clearly said you weren't going to take on. And they say, oh, well, I thought we said that we were only going to take on that type of client if that didn't happen. And you say, no, we didn't say that. We only said this. What they do is they take parts of conversations, they weave it so that they purposely make it seem like it was very easily believable that it could be misconstrued in that way. And then you start to go, well, maybe we did have a conversation that way, or maybe it is possible that it could be misconstrued in that way. Like they're very good at spinning a yarn that way. And so that when somebody else hears it or takes that, they could go, well, maybe they did take it that way, or that's very plausible that it could be like that. Nobody would ever think that they didn't see it like that. That's another form of gaslighting. That's very, very underhanded, the kinds of things that they do. And another way that they'll use to insult you is they might say something like, that is a great job for you. You're such a steady person. You don't like a lot of risk. So a good steady job is good for you. That kind of sounds like an insult. And that's the kind of thing that they might say. Or they might say, well, I was just joking. It was pretty much a joke anyway. Again, that's gaslighting. Things that they'll say to just kind of insult you. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed here and become part of our growing community, I invite you to do that now. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, because your growing support means a growing community here. which means growing for all of us. And by the way, if you guys have seen any of this so far, give me a yes in the comments below and share what your experiences have been, because that also helps everybody here. The next thing that they'll do is a form of verbal attack. Go right after your self-worth, go right after you to maintain control. Obviously, they want to maintain control. And so they might say things that make you question your ability. Let's say you want to start a business. And they'll say things like, I don't know that you can do that. I mean, you've never done anything like that before. Are you sure that you have what it takes? Are you sure you know what you're getting into? You end up questioning yourself. Or they might even say, are you sure you know who you're getting involved with? They're underhanded tactics that end up insulting you, belittling remarks, surgical precision, and they leave you like reeling in their wake a lot of times. Then when you try to say something to them about it, they'll be like, oh, I'm not engaging this conversation. I was just concerned for you. Again, gaslighting. The next underhanded tactic, and again, an underhanded tactic, we're talking about underhanded tactics, is silent treatment. They will launch into you with something with, like, let's say it's a text message. They'll send you some kind of inflammatory text message, and then you go to respond right away. And what will they do? Not respond back, ignore you, withhold affection, give you the cold shoulder. It's a way of manipulating your emotions and asserting their dominance so that you can't get that validation. You can't have that conversation back. Their need for that control, their need to have power over you is fulfilled. Now they know that you're sucked in and you're over there stewing and you're over there wondering what's happening. You cannot allow that narcissist to have that power over you. You cannot allow them to suck that soul from you in that way. For one thing, you've got to prioritize your self-care. It seems like every celebrity has access to GLP-1s these days, but what about the rest of us? Now you don't need to be rich or famous to access personalized, tailored weight loss solutions just for you. Through Hers, you can take control of your health. Hers is changing women's healthcare by providing access to holistic weight loss solutions, including GLP-1 treatments with the same active ingredients as Ozempic and Wegovy, oral medication kits, and more. You'll connect with a medical provider who will develop a plan based on your needs. And if prescribed, your medication is included as part of a doctor-designed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, online support, all at no additional cost. Plans start at just $199 a month with a 12-month subscription, paid up front, and your treatment ships directly to your door. So if you've been struggling with weight loss and you want to find the right solution just for you, start your free online visit today at forhers.com/negotiate. That's forhers.com/negotiate for your personalized weight loss treatment options. Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded programs are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions apply. Wegovy and Ozempic are not compounded. Today, we're going to go over something that you probably didn't know was gaslighting. You hear about gaslighting all the time. I mean, these narcissists, they drive you absolutely insane, but they are so stealth. They're so sneaky. And they're constantly figuring out new ways to drive you absolutely crazy. So if you're trying to communicate with them, you're trying to negotiate with them, they are super good at figuring out new ways of confusing you. And gaslighting is one of those really stealthy ways that all narcissists use. And by the way, if you are trying to negotiate with a narcissist, you're trying to communicate with a narcissist, I have a freebie for you. It's my free 15-page ebook. Go to crushmydeal.com, grab it. I've had entire negotiations be won on just this. What they're trying to do is destabilize you. And that's why I created this free e-booklet. Go to crushmydeal.com and grab it. So what they're trying to do is destabilize you, confuse you, and they use gaslighting as a way to do that. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you 8 things that you probably didn't even realize was gaslighting. Okay. So number 1 is making you always feel like you're wrong. You're wrong in this and you're always wrong in that. And just like these little teeny cuts constantly, these little put downs. No, that's not how it goes, or this isn't right, or just little teeny ways in making you feel like the way you're thinking is wrong. Subtly, they don't even have to say you're wrong. They can just correct you and go behind you and correct you. That is a form of gaslighting. It's a form of destabilizing you. It's a form of confusing you. It's a form of making you feel like you're the crazy one, that there's something wrong with you. And so that is a form of gaslighting. And that's number 1. The next one is saying anything that is designed to make you question your brain or doubt your memory or your sanity. And this can happen in so many different ways. We had that conversation, don't you remember? And the conversation didn't go exactly like that. Sometimes they choose pieces of conversations and you say, no, that's not how it went exactly. You had the conversation about something like that, and they add in parts. Or sometimes it's, no, we didn't have that conversation at all. We agreed that I could go away that weekend and you were fine with it, and that conversation never took place at all, and totally question your reality. Or during that argument, you accused me of this, and that you never said those words at all, and they say it so many times sometimes that you start to wonder, like, maybe I did say that. Where anything designed to make you doubt your memory, your sanity, that sort of thing. Sometimes it's you're looking at text messages that look suggestive, and they'll say things like you're paranoid, you're delusional, you're reading too much into it. Anything that is designed to make you doubt your sanity, make you doubt that what you're looking at is what you're looking at, or what your memory is what your memory is, or what you're hearing is what you're hearing. Anything like that is gaslighting. Number 3, blaming you for their bad moods or behavior. You're the reason why I'm angry. You're the reason why I'm upset. You're the reason why I am behaving the way that I am. They are responsible for their moods. They are responsible for their anger. They are responsible for their own emotional regulation, just the same, by the way, as you are for yours. People are responsible for their own moods and their own regulation, and nobody should be blaming anybody else for their own moods and their own emotional behavior or regulation. You can't make me feel anything, technically. I mean, I know we say that all the time, but in reality, we have a choice on how we respond. That's why we say respond, don't react. That's why we say that. Blaming you for their bad moods or their behavior is gaslighting, and it's unacceptable. So that's not okay. Number 4, withholding information from you on purpose. That is not okay. And then, turning around and saying, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't know this, you should have known this, that sort of thing. And then that's even worse, but they'll do that, not telling you certain things, withholding information from you. That's gaslighting. If it's a relationship, especially if it's supposed to be a romantic relationship, a business partnership, and they are not, and then they'll turn around, by the way, and say, you're the one who's not trustworthy. Think about that. They'll project onto you that you're not trustworthy, and then they're the ones not giving you information. They do that all the time. And the next one is actually closely related. They'll make decisions without consulting you. They'll be out there making decisions without consulting you, doing things without consulting you, living a life without consulting you, and then turn around and accuse you of being the one who's not trustworthy and making you feel like you're the one who's in the wrong. And when you get upset about it, blaming everybody for the fact that you are upset and the fact that there's a problem in the relationship, telling everybody how horrible you are because the relationship is so bad. That's another form of gaslighting, by the way. Next one, trivializing your concerns and your feelings. All of these things will end up playing into each other, by the way, because now they've withheld information, blaming you for your bad moods, blah, blah, blah. And you bring up these concerns, they will trivialize your concerns and your feelings. You're making too much of this, you're blowing things out of proportion. See how that goes? They went out, they bought a new car, they didn't bring you into that decision. They didn't consult you. They trivialize your concerns, your feelings about it, make you feel like you're in the wrong. One thing feeds into another. It's all gaslighting. It's one big, huge thing of gaslighting. Number 7, calling you names and other forms of verbal abuse. And, closely related to this one, by the way, is making fun of you and then saying that it's a joke. Oh, you have such a big butt. Ha, 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 ha. Oh my gosh, can't you take a joke? You're so sensitive. Can't believe how sensitive you're. So oversensitive. Can't you take a joke? Calling you names. That's all verbal abuse. And that's all gaslighting, because then you're over there feeling like there's something wrong with you because you can't take a joke. Maybe you are oversensitive. And then you'll even tell your friends, I think I'm just oversensitive. That is a joke that we have between us. You'll even defend it to your friends sometimes. Don't do that. Don't trivialize your own concerns to your friends. If it's a red flag and if it doesn't feel good to you, then it's not good. Listen to your gut on this. It's wrong. It's so wrong. I want you to put that in the comments right now. So wrong. It is so wrong. And it is so not okay. If it feels bad in your gut, then you know that it's not good. Listen to your heart. Listen to your gut. Listen to your soul. Your soul knows. Your soul always knows. Your soul is whispering to you. Your soul is telling you something. Your soul is going, hey, this is not okay. And that soul is going to speak louder and louder and louder to you until it says, no, because your soul will survive. And finally, the last one is when you finally are ready to leave, then they'll do things like threaten self-harm, threaten to hurt you, threaten to hurt themselves, play on guilt, maybe try to make you feel guilty if you're going to leave. All of that threatening stuff, that's gaslighting too, because a lot of times they're probably not even going to go through with it, or if they do, it's terrorist tactics, which is why I have my slay methodology, by the way. You're going to ethically manipulate the manipulator. That's how you get out. Slay the narcissist. Strategy, leverage, anticipate, focus on you. That's what works. That's how you squeeze them and ultimately incentivize them.
Now, let's talk about word salad. What the heck is a word salad? Narcissists use a variety of things to deflect anything off of themselves and make sure that the other person thinks that they're crazy. They use gaslighting and all sorts of other techniques in order to maintain control over their victims or their targets. So when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you're going to be dealing with word salad. And I've actually heard some of my clients and my subscribers and the people in my community have talked about how their brains end up feeling like scrambled eggs. It really is. in a form of emotional abuse. It's a form of how they traumatize their victims. And it can leave you feeling very confused and very um, you powerless and paralyzed. So, you know, before I talk about word salad, let me just give you a little bit of a basic. If you haven't watched any of my other videos before, I want to make sure that I give you some basics, which is that a narcissist has no inner sense of value. They have to get all of their value from the external. Something happened with them when they were a child. They feel they have no self-esteem. They're actually extremely insecure, extremely fragile. And while all of us are on a continuum in some ways, I mean, in some ways all of us have, what people would refer to as narcissistic traits, meaning, hey, we all want to feel seen, heard, and know that we matter. That is a universal feeling. If you are a human being, you have those feelings, and there is nothing wrong with those feelings. Of course, we matter, and of course, we need to feel whole and complete. The thing is, where you're dealing with a narcissist is where it becomes pathological, where it becomes they absolutely need to have it, they thrive on that, and it's so far gone on the continuum that they just have completely lacked any ability to care about another person. A lot of times people think, oh, that person says that they're so great, they have to be a narcissist. Well, you're forgetting about the second half of that, which is not only do they think that they're great, which is nothing wrong with that, right? But they completely lack any ability to have any feelings or care or empathy for another person. They may know what to do to pretend. And when they're love bombing, they're in that. And they do long for connection, but they just are so pathologically ill in a lot of ways. I mean, they're mentally ill. They cannot cross that bridge. So they feel that they have to manipulate the world in order to get what they want. And so they use a variety of tools. They have a whole little tool chest that they go to manipulate the world and to gaslight people and to um, just to continue to maintain control. In other words, they just don't feel inside that anybody will actually ever love them or be with them unless they are manipulating the situation. It's actually quite sad, but you empath, yeah, I'm talking to you, you cannot fix them, and the emotional abuse will not stop. They really can't be rehabilitated other than to, and I've talked to psychologists about this, and I do highly recommend that you watch some of my other videos, like with Dr. Romani, and specifically my interviews with Dr. Romani and Tina Swithin in One Mom's Battle, how to represent yourself in court. Dr. Romani actually talks about if they can be rehabilitated, and basically she talks about how they can learn how to behave sometimes. Like she has actually had a few narcissists as patients, and she's been able to get them to a point of being able to kind of pretend like they care enough about people, or go through the motions or act the right way, but they don't actually ever come to a point of truly caring, because there's something within themselves that's like broken. It's like wishing somebody could grow an arm back if their arm has been amputated or something for some reason. So it's just those some things are just not possible. So as part of their world of manipulation, they use something called word salad. And in the narcissism world, that basically means that they talk in a way that's like circular conversation. That's one of the things. You think something is settled, and then they come back as if it hasn't been settled, and there they bring it up again, and you're thinking, wait a minute, I thought we had done that conversation, why are you bringing that up again? Something like that. So, you'll provide an explanation for something. For example, why were you late? And you say, I was late because I was taking care of my sister. And then you have some big fight about it or whatever, but you prove it, you show I was late because I was taking care of my sister, blah blah blah. And then like 5 minutes later they come back, why were you late? I can't believe that you were late. I can't believe you did this to me. And you think, didn't we just have this conversation? I thought we had this conversation. But there you are having it again. And they're just trying to like force it out of you again. And it's just a way of trying to make you feel bad or feel guilty or give them attention and show you how horrible you were for disrespecting them and not showing up when you were supposed to, and that sort of thing. So circular conversation is one of their favorite little word salad techniques. Another technique that they use for word salad is just a complete lack of logic. So, for example, if they'll accuse you of cheating. You were at lunch with your mother and your sister, and they'll say, "I know that you were cheating," and you're sitting there defending yourself, thinking, what the heck are you talking about? I was at lunch with my mother and my sister. You know that I was. I was texting you the whole time. I sent you pictures of myself there. I mean, and even if you didn't do that, you know that that's where you were, and you're just like the person who would never cheat. And but yet here they are like saying, well, you're obviously a cheater. Look at what you're wearing. And you're looking at yourself going, I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Like, what you're saying has absolutely no logic whatsoever. It makes no sense. But here you are defending yourself like there's something wrong with you. And it's just this utter verbal chaos of like you're in the twilight zone. So that's number two, is just a complete lack of logic. And another version of word salad is, your typical garden variety gaslighting. And if you want to know more about gaslighting, you should definitely check out my video on gaslighting techniques. But basically, it's saying things to make you think that you're crazy. They'll say, I'm going to go away for the weekend with my friends. And you'll say, oh, when are you doing that? And they'll say, oh, we talked about that and you agreed. Don't you remember? And you're sitting there thinking, no, we never had that conversation. Like, where did that come from? But when they do that over and over and over again, you really do start to question your own mind. You start to question your own sanity. You start to think, well, maybe we did have that conversation, because they'll do it to you over and over and over again so many times that you think, well, I don't know, maybe I am the one that's crazy. Or and what happens with this whole word salad thing is it really just eats away at your self-esteem, and it eats away at your sense of self, so much so that you really start to question everything about yourself, and you start to really believe, and you've been so traumatized that you start to really believe that, gosh, if I were just more perfect, if I were just better, if I just tried harder, if I just were more careful with my words, if I just checked in with him more and showed him or her how often I where I was, I can prove to this person. I don't want to say him or her. Obviously there's narcissists in all genders. You just start to believe, like, it's me. It's definitely me. There's something wrong with me, and they really want you to believe that, until something in your little soul. And I always refer to the Maya Angelou, I know why the caged bird sings, because that caged bird is your soul. And when people end up in my office as an attorney and they're ready to get divorced, or I'm on a coaching call with somebody who's dealing with a narcissistic business partner, or somebody who wants to talk with me about figuring out a way or a strategy or leverage with dealing with narcissists, um, they start to, really see that, like, this is a soul decision. I call it a soul decision. your soul knows that something is deeply wrong. Your soul knows that it's time to sing it. Your soul knows it's time to be free. And so slowly but surely you get that little glimpse of light, and that's when you start watching videos like mine, or many of the others of us who are in this space, that I've collaborated with, such as Dr. Ramani, Tina Swithin, Tracy Malone, Kim Saeed, Melanie Tanya Evans. All of us are in this space working for you. You get that glimmer of light, your soul gets that glimmer of light, and you go, oh my God, this is me, this is what's happening. And you start gathering information, and you start getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's why I do what I do.
I'll admit it, I'm that person. I'm the one the night before a birthday, an anniversary, or any kind of special occasion, I'm frantically searching the aisles for the right card, and one that doesn't seem kind of corny or cringeworthy. You know the struggle, right? But then I found Moonpig. It's a total game changer. They have tons of adorable, funny, even heartfelt designs ready to go, and you can even personalize them, which is super cool. You can even upload your favorite photos or tweak the text to make it uniquely you. And they'll even suggest clever messages if you're feeling stuck. Oh, and no more forgetting birthdays or scrambling for addresses. Moonpig lets you save everything in one place and even sends you reminders. Plus, they've got the opportunity to upload gift cards from all your favorite places like Sephora or Starbucks, so you can really nail that perfect gift vibe. Once you've designed your card, they'll even mail it for you, or if you want to hand deliver it, they'll send it to you with a cool envelope. So guess what? This is your chance. Your first card is totally free. Just use the code FREE and go to moonpig.com/US/negotiate. Seriously, stop stressing and start impressing. Make someone's day with Moonpig. Try it right now. I want you to know that every single one of us possesses the ability to have that power, that knowledge to do whatever you want to do, to shape yourself, to shape the next phase of your life. Part of the way that you can do that is to be able to decode the language that narcissists use and really be able to recognize that on the spot. And that's what we're going to be doing today, so that you can enlighten yourself. Today, we're diving deeper, even deeper, with 5 narcissism code words you need to know. Recognizing these phrases can reshape the way that you review relationships, whether they're professional, whether they're personal, family, neighbor, doesn't matter. It helps to protect you, put that bubble around you, protect your mental, spiritual, physical, emotional well-being. So code word number 1 is, I didn't mean it that way. Yeah, you're just taking it wrong, right? I didn't mean it that way. So this phrase is often a method of evading accountability. That's what they love to do. They're like slippery eels, right? They use this to imply that you are misinterpreting their intent, thereby putting that blame back onto you. So, for example, if a partner belittles you, belittles your job, and tells you, I didn't mean it that way, they're dismissing your feelings. It's a way of dismissing your feelings, devaluing your feelings, making you feel like whatever it is that you felt wasn't real. And that's not okay. If a colleague takes credit for your work, oh, I didn't mean it that way. I thought we were just collaborating. Again, it just makes you feel like whatever it was that you felt, you shouldn't be feeling that way. So I didn't mean it that way. That's number 1, code word number 1. Word number 2 is you're too sensitive. You're too sensitive. They say this all the time. This is so manipulative. It is, again, designed to trivialize your feelings. By labeling you as you're too sensitive, it is meant to invalidate you, invalidate your reactions, making it seem like you're the one who has the problems. I remember that there was somebody that I knew that would, say the worst, most horrible things, and then they'd slap the word "ha" on the end of that sentence. Oh, you're just the worst thing. Ha! And that was supposed to take it all away. Again, they're trying to make it seem like you're the problem. not their actions are the problem. Not okay. And if you agree with me that that is not okay, give me not okay in the comments. And by the way, if you need additional support, make sure you join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Get the help and support that you need. And if you want free phrases for disarming narcissists, make sure you get my free phrases for disarming narcissists at disarmthenarc.com. So important, disarmthenarc.com. Free phrases. You can use them for text, emails, whatever it is that you need, disarmthenarc.com. Next one that you're going to need that that you probably have heard is, oh, I'm only joking. I was only joking. Again, humor used as a shield against accountability. It's an attempt to paint the person as on the receiving end as lacking a sense of humor. I remember somebody actually, tried to call me a narcissist and then say, oh, it was my attempt at humor, and thereby diverting attention or an attempt away from saying something that was extremely hurtful and very, very hurtful actions or remarks. It's not okay if a coworker makes a derogatory comment about your appearance. Oh my goodness. That's again something really, really hurtful. I've actually heard somebody say, "Oh, that person's not eating it today, because they're on a diet." Oh, just kidding, just kidding. And they're actually saying this in a group setting in front of people, and they might actually be really very sensitive about their weight. That's really, really embarrassing to somebody, can be really harmful, very shameful about embarrassing for them. Not okay. And if they shrug it off and just say, oh, it was just a joke, it was just a joke, that is so, so hurtful. It can be really, really hurtful, and it can cause pain to somebody for a very, very long time. It can cause a deep amount of trauma to somebody, and you really don't know what a person is dealing with. So, this is just awful. The next one that is a code word is it's for your own good. It's for your own good. This is a covert way of justifying or controlling unsolicited behavior. And they make it seem like this is a very, very covert narcissist thing to do. Oh, I'm just trying to help. I'm so concerned. This is something that covert narcissists do all the time. They couch their narcissism in concern, and they act as if they're in the person's best interests. And this is how they smear people too. In reality, they're really just smearing, or if they're talking directly to the person, they're just being narcissists, and it's a way of putting people down. I don't really like that dress, or it doesn't really look the best on you. Or they're just trying to discourage people from hanging out with other people. Oh, they're really not the best crowd for you. They're really just trying to isolate you. They're trying to push you into a particular career path. And it's really just a way of discouraging you against your passions. That's so not okay. Point number 5, nobody else thinks that. This is very, very narcissistic. Again, it's that whole everybody else thinks this, nobody else thinks that. Narcissists try to isolate you, they try to devalue you, they try to make you feel like they're the only ones that might care about you, or that you should overly rely on them, or they're trying to marginalize your feelings, or they're trying to isolate you. By saying that nobody else thinks that, they're aiming to get you to doubt the legitimacy of your own feelings. It's a way of gaslighting you and trying to get you to think that you're crazy, and get you to doubt what it is that you're thinking, or maybe get you to not believe your own senses a lot of times. So maybe you're thinking something happened at work, you're worried about how you're being perceived or something. Oh, nobody else thinks that. In a group of friends, you bring up an issue and you might consider your concerns. Well, nobody else thinks that. You're the only one who feels that way. These are ways that narcissists get to control you. By recognizing these code words and these patterns, you start to realize, hey, this is a person that's not supporting me. And again, I go back to, how do you feel after you've been with a person? look at your gut. The heart actually is vibrationally ahead of the brain by 10 seconds. I don't know if you ever knew that. You actually know that something is off. You can just tell how you feel after you've been around this person. Trust your gut. Stop trying to make not your people your people. I want to get real. I want to get real. Sometimes it's hard to have a conversation about abuse and about emotional abuse in particular. I mean, a lot of times people only really want to talk about certain types of abuse, and emotional abuse, especially when you are in a toxic situation. I've practiced law for a long time, and they talk about no fault divorce, and people like fault doesn't matter and all that sort of thing. And first of all, I want to dispel a myth, because a lot of times people think, well, no fault divorce means fault never matters. And that is definitely a myth, because no fault just means that you don't have to prove fault in order to get a divorce. Like years ago, you had to prove fault in order to get a divorce. No fault means is you just don't have to prove fault in order to get a divorce. Years ago, you had to have certain grounds like abandonment or something like that. Now you just have to say irretrievably broken or whatever. But it doesn't mean fault never matters. Fault can come into play for sure. There are times that fault can come into play. Now, emotional abuse is a little bit more tricky, though, because it is much harder to prove in a divorce situation. And suffice it to say, emotional abuse is certainly abuse for sure. And there are times that you can weave it into a case, especially if you can look at it in terms of a custody statute or something like that. But, we will make sure that we put the domestic violence hotline below for any of you guys. I want to make sure that all of you guys have access to that number. And please make sure you take advantage of using it if you think that you are in an abusive situation. Okay. So what the domestic violence hotline says is, maybe in an emotionally or verbally abusive relationship, if your partner attempts to exert control by, number one, calling you names, insulting you, or constantly criticizing you. So that is emotional abuse, number one. Number two is acting jealous, possessive, or refusing to trust you. So that is another way that you can be considered to be in a emotionally or verbally abusive relationship. Okay. Especially if somebody is constantly accusing you of doing things just for no reason whatsoever. And I mean, I remember one time I had this client, she almost literally looked like a nun. She was this older woman who would wear these cardigan sweaters, like buttoned up to her neck, and she had this short gray hair, and she would not wear any makeup. And her husband was this Middle Eastern physician who had been very, very successful, but she was so sweet and prim and proper. Literally, if she just, spoke to another male, because the other male would say hello to her in an elevator or something, he would accuse her of having an affair with this other male. I mean, he was so paranoid and so ridiculously, insanely jealous. That was so emotionally abusive. So acting jealous like that in a way that's just not rational can be very, very emotionally abusive to you. Okay. The next one is isolating you from family or friends or other people in your life. You're not allowed to make phone calls at a certain time, or you're not allowed to go see people at a certain time. I remember knowing somebody one time where the husband would actually take note of how many miles were on the car and wouldn't let her drive. That's so emotionally abusive. That's the next one. The next one is monitoring your activities with or without your knowledge, including demanding to know where you go, who you're in contact with, how you spend your time, constantly monitoring you, putting a GPS on your car, things like that. Why do they need to do that? Constantly controlling you, knowing where you are. The next one, attempting to control what you wear, including clothes, makeup, or hairstyles. I remember having a client one time where she had been married to a malignant narcissist, and she talked about when they finally got back together, she had left him. And then when she got back together with him and she thought he had changed, and they were going to therapy and they were getting ready to go to dinner one night, and under her breath he said something about, oh, lipstick. Made a comment about the fact that she was wearing lipstick. Like, that was so bad. The fact that she was wearing lipstick at all, somehow she was supposed to feel like bad about that in some way, like she was some sort of slut or something. The fact that she had lipstick on, that's another one. The next one is humiliating you in any way, especially in front of others. Just horrible. Any kind of humiliation in front of others is bad. Nothing more needs to be even said about that. Next one is gaslighting you by pretending not to understand or refusing to listen to you, questioning your recollection of facts, events, or sources, trivializing your need if you have feelings, or denying your previous statements. Anytime somebody says, if you feel like you have needs and you're saying, this is the way you feel, and they say that's not the way you feel, or if they're saying, oh, that's ridiculous, or that's not what you're seeing, or anytime somebody is making you feel like you're crazy, that's gaslighting. Refusing to listen to you, that's gaslighting. Making jokes about you that are hurtful, and then saying that you can't take a joke, you're butt is fat or whatever. Oh, you can't take a joke. Those kinds of things are hurtful. You see a text message exchange between your significant other and somebody of the opposite sex, and it looks suggestive, and you ask them about it, and they say, oh, you're reading too much into it, you're probably not, that sort of thing. So that's gaslighting. Next one is threatening you, your children, your family, or your pets with or without weapons. Any kind of threatening, if you do this, this is going to happen, you better stop it. Where you feel in fear, you're worried for your safety, you're worried that something's going to happen. Never okay. Absolutely never okay. Damaging your belongings, including throwing objects, punching walls, kicking doors. Never okay. If your property gets destroyed, things get broken, that's just absolutely never okay. Blaming you for abusive behavior, again, never okay. I go back to a Maya Angelou quote, which was always so perfect: when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Okay. And then when they try to say they're sorry, it's like that narcissist faux apology. It's probably a bunch of crap. And I have a whole video on what narcissists really mean when they say they're sorry. And you can definitely check that out. Probably sorry, not sorry. Don't believe them. Stand in your power. And, you can put that in the comments. I stand in my power. Put that in the comments right now. I stand in my power. Okay, next one is accusing you of cheating, or cheating themselves and blaming you for their actions. That projection and deflection, or lying and denying, always narc moves. All right, or cheating to intentionally hurt you, and then threatening to cheat again to suggest they're better than you. They're always going after better forms of supply. You know that, right? You know that they can get their better forms of supply to try to put you in your place. And then the last one is telling you that you're so lucky to be with them. And I have a whole video, by the way, on narcissists' favorite catchphrases, which you can definitely check out. That's, one of the things that they'll say, like, you're so lucky to be with me. When they say stuff like that, it's just so ridiculous. Don't believe things like that. You'll never find somebody else as good as me. You'll never find anybody else who loves you as much as me. Those are phrases designed to try to control you. Okay. Those are all things to try to manipulate you, destabilize you, to keep you under their thumb because they have no sense of self. And so they're trying to keep you in their power. All right. So those are all signs of emotional abuse. Some people I know who are watching this have probably seen a lot of them, maybe even all of them. If that's you, for sure, definitely take advantage of calling that hotline.
You know what's interesting about narcissists is that I think in general they're excellent business people, right? Because they're looking out for themselves and they're really smart. Um, I think that they can be very sociable, very charismatic because they're looking for how to get what they want and need, right? So they're can be extremely charismatic. And yeah, I think what I would say is,
I mean, I think they're excellent only to a point, though, not for the long term.
well, no kidding, right? It's all good until it's not good.
Yeah.
It's all good till it's not good. But um, there are now some tools that I use, Rebecca, that help me because my picker is off, because childhood, I didn't have the right, I think, kind of maybe the right nurturing parental structure. I'm guessing. I don't know enough to know that I always say I have great instincts, but a bad picker. So I do use the cultural index that you're familiar with to help me have a better picker. And one of my dear friends coaches me that because I love to give and love to connect and I'm emotional and I love to like dig in and have juicy emotional relationships and conversations, she says, you need to be very thoughtful about in thinking about discerning who you allow in and how much you trust
Hmm.
until someone really proves themselves to you
Hmm.
because your picker is off.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, and you're the one who taught me narcissists look for exactly that kind of person
Yep.
who just like goes, how can I give you? Come sit at my table, break bread. Let's talk about it. Let's be really emotional. And it's like feeding on that,
Hmm.
right? You're the one who taught me that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I say no icky people under the tent.
I know. You're so good at it too. And now that I understand the, you know what, Rebecca, the one thing I have to tell you that has been my superpower over the last 5 years is my gut, my heart gut connection.
Hmm.
Even if I don't have any tangible way to explain it, I still trust it more than I trust my head
Well, the
because
heart
my head,
math.
yeah, my head's let me down so many times.
Yeah. I mean, it's so synchronistic that you had um, the heart math specialist at Inner Fifth this past weekend because I had just started really learning about it from the person who's been my personal business coach and really personal coach for the past 15 years. And really one of my best friends. She had been teaching me about it just recently. And it's so synchronistic that we learned about it because, yes, I mean, your heart does actually know before your head.
So, was that blowing your mind when you heard that people would have a reaction to a photograph up to 3 seconds before the photo flashed up?
Yeah.
That they had the fear response that they were going to see a photo of a beautiful little baby duckling versus a picture of a viper biting a leg of a person hiking. And that stat that came out of Stanford. They did a whole study around the fact that your heart and the coherence and the knowing of your intuition in your heart is 2 to 3 seconds ahead of your brain, to
Yeah.
the point that your heart's reacting to a picture that it hasn't even seen yet, blowing your mind. That's like
Right.
future stuff. That's Joe Dispenza, future quantum. It's happening before it's happening. It's past, future, today, all at once stuff.
Yeah, like when you are in it, you can feel, and I can feel it. I am at the point now where I can feel what an email is going to say before I open it. Like
Oof. I
like
just
a
got chills.
yeah, like I can what somebody's response is going to be like
But
to
here's where I'm struggling. So I really am I'm focused on learning about this, which is when my intuition knows that email example you just gave. You said, I know I'm going to open it and kind of what's going to come from that. That means to me that you knew something about that relationship, but there was an underlying something
I did.
that you did not address that was latent and somehow came into manifest and came through in an email. And now it's sitting in your inbox and you're like, I know what this is going to be. So, my, and I agree with you. It's like knowing I'm about to buy the lottery ticket that has the ticket to millions when I know it has the ticket to millions. And I'm like, okay, this one I know. And I get that for bad feelings and good feelings. And so, why are we not, or what action should you and I have taken before that email landed in our inbox?
I mean, I guess that's where you really can start to be, I think meditation and getting more connected to source
Mhm.
can help. I'm not that good yet.
Here's why. Because, and I'm facing this past week, so I'm curious because I'm grappling with this myself. I get, I don't say angry. I'm disappointed in myself when I know something and I ignore it, but I don't know why I know it. I just know it. And I'm like, oh, but I got to do it anyway because I already said I would. And I already agreed to that contract, or I signed on that person, or I hired that contractor. I gave my commitment, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then that happens, that
Mhm.
email or that lawsuit or that knock on your door or that whatever. And you're like, what the heck? If you don't show up for yourself, who is? Like, you knew this. And I guess I'm at a place where I go, okay, have grace. You didn't know it. You thought it. You felt it. You had instincts, but you didn't know. I'm going to mastery level, which will be at some point, I hope in this lifetime, which is the Yoda level that says, I don't even need one more thing to tell me I'm making the right choice. I'm going to call that person I just hired and say, listen, I I made a mistake. This isn't a fit. Or that contractor, you know what? I told you I wanted you for the job. I slept on it. I woke up. Something's up. I can't say yes. We're going to have to terminate this and we'll move forward. Maybe in a month, we'll regroup or something. This, I could use support. I don't know if your listeners feel this way. This is my big opportunity for transition and change.
I mean, I have started that process. I mean, I not with employees, people I've actually hired. I mean, I'm trying to be so much better with that. But I know that at least for contractors, as soon as I start to see a red flag, I've definitely started to go, I'm cutting it now
Mm,
right away
yeah,
because why prolong? I'm not I don't want to do this anymore.
right.
If it's a marketing person or media buyer or something, I'm not allowing myself that I don't owe them anything. They don't owe me anything. We're just going to go cut now.
Mm. Mhm.
because I don't want to do that to myself anymore. Whereas a few years back I might have been like, oh, I don't want to look like I want to be nice. I don't do that anymore.
Mm. And dating, if any of you are dating, you know this when you know, right? He was introduced, he looks so good on paper, he's been to the right schools, he's a friend of my friend. I have all the reasons why I should go on the third date or the fourth date or the fifth date, even though there's something inside you going, I don't think this is the right